Have you ever heard whispers of Viking warriors who were more beast than man? Warriors who shed their humanity like a cloak and became wolves on the battlefield? These were not just tales to frighten children around a winter fire. They were the Ulfhednar, the famed Wolf-Skins of the Viking Age. Their legend is etched into the very fabric of Norse history, a chilling testament to a primal fury that few could comprehend, let alone face. They were said to be the chosen warriors of Odin, the All-Father himself, blessed with a madness that made them unstoppable. But were they truly blessed, or were they cursed by the very god they served with such ferocious loyalty? The Ulfhednar, whose name literally translates to wolf hides, were an elite and terrifying class of Viking warrior. They were distinct from their more famous cousins, the Berserkers, or bear shirts, though they shared a similar devotion to Odin and a terrifying battle rage. These men were outsiders, living on the fringes of society, often in small, isolated groups deep within the dark, imposing forests of Scandinavia. They did not see themselves as mere men fighting for a jarl. Instead, they believed they were conduits for the spirit of the wolf, a sacred and formidable predator in the Norse world. Their identity was not just in their clan or family, but in the pack they formed and the beast they emulated. Unlike the common soldier who fought in the shield wall, the Ulfhednar were shock troops of the highest order. They were the tip of the spear, sent to shatter enemy lines and sow terror before the main army even clashed. Their appearance alone was enough to break a man's spirit. Clad only in the skins of wolves, their faces often painted with blood and ash, they were a vision from a nightmare. They carried no shields, believing their God-given fury was their only true protection. This act of casting aside a shield was a profound statement of faith in Odin, a declaration that they feared neither steel nor death itself, for Valhalla awaited them. Their connection to the wolf was not merely symbolic, it was deeply spiritual and all-encompassing. The wolf was a creature of immense power in Norse mythology, a companion to Odin and a symbol of both destruction and cunning. By wearing its skin, the Ulfhednar believed they were not just mimicking the animal, but truly embodying its spirit. They sought to absorb its ferocity, its pack instincts, and its relentless nature. Was this a form of shamanism, a deep spiritual practice that connected them to the animal world? Or was it a psychological weapon, crafted to create an aura of supernatural dread that would give them an edge in the brutal theater of war? The truth, like the Ulfhednar themselves, remains shrouded in mystery. How does a man become a wolf? The path to becoming an Ulfhednar was not a simple one of training with an axe and a sword. It was a brutal and mystical initiation, a process designed to strip away the man and unleash the beast that lay dormant within his soul. Young initiates would be taken from their villages and thrust into the unforgiving wilderness, forced to live as a wolf does. They would hunt what they could kill with their bare hands or simple weapons, sleep in the cold earth, and learn to track their prey through the darkest of nights. This was the first step in severing their ties to the civilized world and forging a new bond with the primal forces of nature. The trials were as much about spiritual endurance as they were about physical hardship. It is believed that these aspiring warriors would engage in elaborate secret rituals dedicated to Odin. These ceremonies might have involved mind-altering substances, such as hallucinogenic mushrooms or specific herbs, to help them break the barriers of their own consciousness. Fasting, exposure to extreme temperatures, and ritualistic dancing to the beat of drums were all tools used to induce a trance-like state. It was in this altered state of mind that they believed they could commune with the spirit of the wolf, inviting it into their very being. The goal was to make the warrior's spirit and the wolf's spirit one and the same. This process was incredibly dangerous, both for the mind and the body. Many who attempted the initiation likely did not survive it. They might have succumbed to the elements, been killed by wild animals, or lost their minds completely in the pursuit of this ecstatic fury. Only the strongest, most resilient, and perhaps the most spiritually attuned would emerge from this ordeal. When they returned, they were no longer the boy who had left the village. They were something else entirely, marked by their experience and forever changed. They had faced the abyss within themselves and embraced the darkness they found there, transforming it into a weapon. The final stage of their transformation was the adoption of their new identity. They would cast off their old names and be known only by their warrior titles. They learned to fight as a pack, communicating with growls and howls that their enemies could not understand. This was not just a battle tactic. It was a reflection of their new reality. They were a pack of wolves in human form, loyal only to each other and to their alpha, Odin. Their training was complete when they could summon the spirit of the wolf at will, letting its rage flow through their veins on command, ready to be unleashed upon their foes when the horns of war finally sounded. Imagine the scene. A Viking shield wall stands firm, a bristling line of wood and steel. Then, from the flanks, a new sound emerges. It is not the clash of swords or the roar of men. It is a chilling, guttural howling that seems to tear at the very air. The Ulfhednar are coming. They charge forward with no armor, no shields, their bodies covered in wolf pelts and ritualistic paint. Their eyes are wide, unfocused, staring through their enemies as if they are not truly there. This was the beginning of the battle fury, a state the Norse called Berserkergang. But for these warriors, it was the fury of the wolf made manifest on earth. Once the fighting began, the Ulfhednar were said to be immune to pain. Sagas and poems describe how they would bite their own shields, or in the case of the Ulfhednar, perhaps the hilts of their axes, in a fit of rage before the charge. They moved with a speed and strength that seemed unnatural, flowing around their opponents like predators cornering their prey. Swords would glance off their skin, or so the stories claimed, and they would continue to fight even with wounds that would fell an ordinary man. This terrifying spectacle was not just about inflicting physical damage. It was psychological warfare at its most raw and effective, designed to make enemy soldiers break and run in sheer terror. This trance-like state was not a controlled anger. It was a complete and total surrender to a primal rage. The warrior's consciousness would recede, replaced by the instinct of the wolf. All that remained was the drive to kill, to tear, to destroy everything in their path. They were said to be just as dangerous to their own allies as they were to the enemy, and sagas often tell of them being kept separate until the moment they were unleashed. After the battle, the warrior would collapse, overcome by a profound exhaustion and weakness. The fury would leave them as suddenly as it came, leaving behind a drained and often confused man in its wake. What was the source of this incredible power? Modern historians and scientists have proposed several theories. Some suggest the use of potent psychoactive plants, like the fly agaric mushroom, could induce hallucinations and a feeling of invincibility. Others point to self-induced hysteria, a psychological state brought on by intense pre-battle rituals. It could also have been a form of post-traumatic stress disorder, a fight response magnified to an extreme degree. Perhaps it was a combination of all these things, a carefully cultivated cocktail of ritual, psychology, and pharmacology that turned a man into a living weapon for Odin. The true nature of this red trance remains one of the Viking Age's most enduring secrets. The age of the Ulfhednar, like the Viking Age itself, eventually came to an end. As Scandinavia slowly converted to Christianity, the old gods and their warrior cults were pushed into the shadows. The worship of Odin and the practice of ecstatic warrior rituals were condemned as pagan savagery. Kings and rulers began to favor disciplined, organized armies over unpredictable shock troops who might turn on their own men. Laws were passed that outlawed the practice of Berserkergang, punishing it with exile or death. The wolf-skinned warriors, once revered as Odin's chosen, were now branded as outlaws and madmen, hunted by the very society they once protected with their fury. Yet, the legend of the Ulfhednar never truly died. It survived in the sagas, in skaldic poetry, and in the hushed folklore of the north. They became cautionary tales, figures of monstrous power and uncontrollable rage. They represent the untamed wilderness of the human spirit, the thin line between warrior and beast. Their legacy is a reminder that the Viking world was not just one of longships and silver hordes. It was a world of deep, complex spirituality, where the boundaries between the human, the divine, and the animal were often blurred. The Ulfhednar embody the most extreme and mysterious aspects of Norse belief. Today, the mystery of the Ulfhednar continues to fascinate us. Were they truly possessed by animal spirits, or were they masters of psychological manipulation? Were their powers derived from secret rituals and hallucinogens, or from a unique mental state we no longer fully understand? The lack of definitive archaeological evidence, such as wolfskin costumes or ritual sites, only deepens the enigma. We are left with the powerful imagery from the sagas and the chilling questions they raise about the capabilities of the human mind and body when pushed to their absolute limits. The howl of the wolf warrior still echoes through the corridors of history, a symbol of primal power. The story of the Ulfhednar is just one of many secrets hidden within the Viking Age. Their tale forces us to look beyond the simple stereotype of the horned helmeted barbarian and see a culture with a profound and often terrifying spiritual dimension. What do you think is the truth behind these wolf warriors? Were they shamans, madmen, or something else entirely? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And let me know what other hidden corners of the Viking world you want to explore next. Subscribe for more journeys into the past.